Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House News Show, the only weightlifting news show in the world. And it is about time. It's about time that I turn this into a video show. I've been doing this now for almost 3 years, every single week, going through the biggest lifts from around the world and competitions and training halls, as well as IWF news. And finally, I've decided, let's just put this video on YouTube. This kind of podcast is made for YouTube, so you can actually see the lifts that I'm talking about rather than just listening to me talking about the lifts. Okay, so let's get straight into the lifting, and we'll start off as we always do with Team China. So this week a video went up by the squat jerk journalist of Shi Yong, 73 kilo world record holder in the snatch, clean and jerk and total, and it was a sort of a collage of the 4 times that Shi Yong has clean and jerked 205 kilos. So she told me when I drove him around in Switzerland that one time that his PB is 206 kilos. That's the best he's ever done. His PR snatch 171, and of course his world record is 198 kilos. So this lift, this 205, 7 kilos over his competition best, his world record, 1 kilo below his all-time best. This was actually posted by squat jerk journalist. The guy's called Yilin Yang. He's a really nice guy. I've met him at competitions before. But this just kind of shows that, whilst we do see that Shi Yong, perhaps only takes 2 attempts on his clean and jerk, there's clearly more there. I mean, the consistency with which this guy has at such top-end weights is remarkable. So let's stick with China and just move up a weight class to the 81s with Dayin, the guy who has the 3rd most Roby points altogether in the world, behind actually teammate Shi Yong, and in first place, of course, Lasha Talakadze. But this week, Dayin did something incredible. We've seen him clean and jerk 206 kilos. He did that at the World Championships. He took the silver behind Liu Xiaojun. But what he did this week was he did a hip clean and almost jerk with 215 kilos. That's 8 kilos over Liu Xiaojun's world record. And he's always been incredible in the pull. He's a little bit slower, and people have always remarked that it looks like he hangs around at the top for longer than anyone. He really finishes his extension better than any other lifter, which when you train amongst the Chinese is quite the accolade to have. But on this lift you can absolutely see why he spends so much time up top. He's able to generate a tremendous amount of height on the bar. This 215 is just incredible to watch. 1 kilo over the old 77 kilo world record by the man that we just mentioned, Nijat Rahimov. Moving over to Korea, we have... Now this is the lifter who I've mentioned a bunch of different times on the podcast. Her name is Park Hye-jeong. She is the youth world record holder in the snatch, clean and jerk and total with 110, 145, 255, which she did, and I just found this out, when she was 16 years old. But she just posted a video this week of a 210 kilo front squat. She's now just 17, but 210 kilos. She's been posting videos of 240 kilo back squats. She also snatched 115 kilos this week really easily, and I think a couple of weeks ago 120 kilos for a PR. So she is way above now her youth world records, and if she's afforded the opportunity to lift again as a youth weightlifter, which she may well not with everything that's going on in the world, but if she is very likely to absolutely demolish those youth world records. And I'm going to put it out there now, she is one to watch in 2024 when she heads to the Olympics, almost certainly, and she's going to be one of the few people maybe able to contend with, or even push, or even beat Li Wenwen, the 19-year-old Chinese sensation. Over in Japan, super heavyweight Aishiro Murakami, aka the Tank Murakami, hit some really heavy back squats. Now, I like to post him, not for his snatch and clean and jerk, though of course he is still great. He's done 190, 230 or 235, but it's his strength lifts that we really love. We followed him over the last few weeks as he attempted to PR his strict press. He actually went for 160 recently, which I hope I have a video for if you're watching this on YouTube, which is absolutely incredible. It's like he's always trying to kill himself whenever he lifts, but he did this week in the back squat a great video from bar all the way up to 330 kilos. That's 727 pounds for those who are inclined to use pounds. He ended up doing it for a double. Now, his best ever is 804 pounds, so that's 364 kilos, and apparently he wants 1,000 pounds, which is 453 kilos. So he still has, 89 kilos left to go before he gets to his target goal. But this was incredible. He has actually done 330 kilos for a set of 5 before, which kind of shows the strength that he has had in the past. But even so, always great to watch the tank hit 330 kilos in any capacity, and this time it happens to be for a double. Moving across to Iran, 96 kilo Kianish Rustami is 2016 Olympic champion. Kianish Rustami, the 2-time world champion, the 5-time world medalist, and of course, as people forget, the 2012 Olympic silver medalist. He just he posted a video which have got people wondering whether or not he is making the transition to CrossFit. Now, he almost certainly isn't, but I understand why people said that. Not only did he just triple 150 kilos in the snatch, he then supersetted it with a set of 5 in the muscle-ups. Couple that with the fact that, there's basically no way that he can now qualify for the Olympics, having got no score in the second qualifying period and being too far behind to be able to make that up in the third qualifying period, which we've basically had, but the extended third qualifying period in April at the Asian Championships. He will need, I think I worked this out a while back, he will need to get he'll need to have a Sinclair of over 500. He basically needs like a 440 kilo total, which would be 200, 240. It's not going to happen, it's impossible. And so he's not going to go. But even so, I think because of all of these things, people maybe wondered, is this guy trying out for CrossFit? But he's not, but it's great to see him snatch 150 for a triple. Sticking with Iran, we have the 55 kilo Hafez Gashgeh, who just hit an enormous, really, 158 kilo clean and squat-ish jerk. Now, Hafez took 7th at the World Championships, but he's always been phenomenal in the clean and jerk. He took 2nd in the clean and jerk at the World Champs, and he did that with just 149 kilos. His snatch lets him down somewhat. He hit 110 kilos, I believe, in 2019 at the World Champs. But this 158, that's already a 9 kilo improvement. He also cleaned 173 kilos in December, which he said on his post that this was 1 kilo under the world record. So it must have meant that he was at that time, a 61 rather than 55, because the 61 kilo world record held by Eko Yuri Irawan is 174 kilos, so just 1 kilo below that. But phenomenal cleaner, tremendous jerker, and just needs to push that snatch. And he has a real chance at hopefully moving up into a total medal position at an upcoming World Championships. Moving over to Belarus, Andrei Romanow, 109 kilo silver medalist at the World Championships, the 2007 World Champion, 2008 Olympic champion, just hit 210 kilos for a front squat plus jerk. Now, this isn't the most impressive thing we've seen from him. I mean, he clean and jerked 228 at the World Championships this year. He clean and jerked 236, of course, in 2008 at the Olympics, but he hasn't been in tremendous shape over the last few months. So this is still good to see. His squats are looking a little bit better. He just moved 240 kilos pretty easily. If you want to see him in what I would consider pretty much peak shape, then check out the most recent video that I uploaded a few hours ago, actually, on the Weightlifting House YouTube page, where you'll be able to see him in a compilation of a training hall video, snatching 190 and back squatting, more impressively, 300 kilos. That's worth a look. Over in Russia, we have the first of what's going to be a lot of different strict presses. This one from Dmitry Klokov. Now, when I posted the strict press competition between Mezzo, Ilya, and Forrester recently, every other comment was, in before Klokov's 160, or, Klokov has entered the chat. Just people posting funny comments. And it was almost to the point where, I just wanted to say, all right, guys, we get it. Klokov's really strong. But you know what? Klokov did something this week that is so impressive, it transcends everything that I've ever posted with Mezzo, Ilya, and Forrester. So this week we saw a 170 kilo power clean plus strict press. He did 160 kilos before, and it was totally strict in the sense that he didn't move his feet. I think if there was such thing as a strict press competition nowadays, it probably wouldn't allow you to take a step forward. But, for all intents and purposes, this is about as strict as you can get with 170 kilos. For a guy who's weighing under 120 kilos, it's ridiculous. He also hit a pause snatch at 170 kilos, and in true Klokov fashion, it was a actual pause, 7-8 seconds, something like that. 85% of the best that we've seen from him for a pause. Of course, he did 200 at the 2015 World Championships training hall, but exceptional lifting from Dmitry this week. Sticking with Russia, we have one of the few Russians that has still yet to be popped. 89 kilo Artem Okulov, back squatting 240 kilos for a double. He remarked in the post that this was actually pre-European Championships, but of course they were cancelled, so he didn't get to compete. But still, nice to see his legs relatively strong. Not quite the 290 kilos that we saw from him 6 years ago, age 19. But even so, a lot has changed in the Russian landscape since. I'm sure you all know what I mean. So, exciting to see the two-time world champion with some decent weight on his back. Moving over to Romania, we have the 2017 world champion Toma Loredana with incredible lifts this week. Now, Toma is one of my favourite weightlifters to watch. I've filmed her a bunch of times. I've posted a video of her on YouTube. I've got more videos to come of her competing and training. And so it's always great to watch her lift. This week, she hit 150 kilos for a triple in the front squat, which is exciting because, you know, the clean and jerk is to some extent where she's let down. And perhaps it's not even the clean, it's the jerk. But every time we see heavyweight on her back or in the front rack, it's exciting because it's kind of alluding to some heavy clean and jerks. Her best in the clean and jerk, 136 kilos. So these front squats at 150 were about 110% of her best clean and jerk for a triple, which, if you're an efficient lifter, is actually pretty tough to do. And she certainly is efficient, and she made them look brilliant. So that was one of the videos. She then, just before I recorded this episode, posted a clean plus front squat plus jerk at 120 kilos. So that's about 88% of her best clean and jerk. The 136 clean and jerk PR, by the way, she hit at the Roma 2020 World Cup that I have posted one of her training videos from, in which she does 120 for a clean plus 2 jerks. So I think probably the 120 clean plus 2 jerks is slightly more impressive than the 120 clean plus front squat plus jerk. But even so, she's a year out from any meaningful competition. She's basically already qualified. She doesn't need to compete again. So she is ready to go. She's ready to compete. And she's got some tough people to try and beat, including Deng Wei. Okay, so Team GB has had a pretty good week of training. We first have Zoe Smith, aka Zoe Pablo Smith, 125 kilos in the clean and jerk. Now, last week she did 122, and then this week 125. So that's actually a PR for her at this body weight. Unless she's done some other lifts and she's never shown them, but I don't think she has. So I'm going to take this as a body weight personal best for Zoe, which is incredibly exciting to see. 100 kilo snatch and 125 kilo clean and jerk. It could be pushing up into the bronze medal position at the Olympic Games in a year's time. Sticking with Great Britain, Edmund Avetissian, the 96 kilo lifter, hit 110 kilos in the strict press. I told you we were having a lot of strict presses this week. That's a 7 kilo PR for him, so a big lift there. And then lastly, from this great island, we have 81 kilo Chris Murray, who hit 176 kilos for a PR in the clean. He's only 20 years old at this point. He also hit 140 kilos for a snatch plus hang snatch, which I believe equals his PR from the floor. It certainly equals his international or his competition PR from the floor. I remember him doing 140 recently in competition. And then it's just 10 kilos below the hang snatch PR at 150 that he hit last week. So amazing set for him. He is, of course, a Great British record holder and a 2-time British champion. Moving now across the oceans up north to Canada, we have 96 kilo Bodhi Santavi, who, we've all known is a bit of a snatch specialist. I've got videos of him snatching 181, 176, doing a sort of a triple cluster at 171. He's competed and snatched over 170 many, many times. And this week he did something truly spectacular. 160 kilos in the power snatch, 86% of the world record that stands at 186 right now, held by, of course, Surab Muradi. Down south to the USA, we have CJ Cummings, a 73 kilo sensation who just hit 165 kilos for a power clean, which is right around his best ever power clean. He then hit 170 for a pow, so not a full snatch, full clean, not a power clean, but it's a pow. He then cleans continuing up all the way to 182 kilos, which is right around 94% of his best. Of course, he's done 193 kilos internationally, just 5 kilos below the world record. So big lifts for him. He then worked up to 140 kilos in the snatch for a double, as well as a 145 kilo snatch deadlift plus snatch, which, we're now over 90% of his best, considerably over 90% of his best. And if he can get anywhere approximating 160 kilos in the snatch, which he may well do within a year's time when he goes to the Olympics, 160 plus, 195, just 2 kilos up on what he did at the World Championships, it certainly seems possible. and I think there's a good chance that we might see CJ with the USA on the podium somewhere. 89 kilo Jordan Cantrell, who has, we always make a joke about this, he just has the strongest shoulders for no apparent reason in the world of weightlifting, sort of out of proportion. So I remember interviewing him a few years ago. He just snatch balanced 190 kilos, which he did just do again, and he made it look even easier. But now he's just done 205 kilos, which, is so far above his snatch. I think his best international snatch now is 160 from the World Championships. So that's about 128% of his best ever snatch. And then lastly, from the USA, we have Kate Nye, 81 kilo Kate Nye, who of course is 71 kilo world champion. Now she took a little bit of time off, started building back up into some level of fighting shape, and most recently posted this video, a 150 kilo back squat triple. Now it's not quite the set of 10 that she attempted at 150 a few months ago. She did make 145 for 10, but even so, it's good to see her with some heavy weight on her back. And we will finish off down southeast Australia. 73 kilo Brandon Wakeling absolutely demolished his 175 kilo clean and jerk, which I can't find the proof anywhere, but I'm certain that this is a personal best for him. He hit 162 kilos at the World Championships, so this is already, 13 kilos up on that, and before this lift, he hit a PR on the power clean at 160 kilos. So, and then he jerked it as well. So he's in incredible shape right now. He's always had brilliant leg strength, huge front squats, huge back squats, and it's just so great to see his strength from the squats turn into something, really manifest into something competitive in the 73 kilo class. So tremendous lifting from Brandon Wakeling. Let's talk a little bit more about the McLaren investigation. So, as you know, there were found by the McLaren investigation, there were 40 drug tests that were failed, that were withheld by Tamas Ayan, the IWF president, the ex-IWF president, for his own financial gain. And these have now been sent to WADA. I reported this last week. WADA received them, and now the World Anti-Doping Agency has actually officially announced that it will be investigating the alleged interference with the anti-doping at the IWF following this evidence. So the WADA president, Witold Banka, said, and this is in quotations, WADA is appalled by the behavior exposed by the McLaren investigation team. The agency condemns all interference with anti-doping procedures with the utmost vigor. These revelations are incredibly upsetting for clean athletes, for WADA, and for all advocates of clean sport. He went on to focus particularly on allegations that anti-doping cases have been deliberately delayed in order to enable athletes to continue competing. WADA has requested that the IWF process all existing cases as quickly as possible and have said that it will monitor the process closely. So that's the situation as it stands. Of course, this all kicked off because of the German documentary that kind of alleged all of the corruption within the IWF. A few names were thrown out, one of which was Lasha Talakadze, so of course everyone is on tenterhooks right now waiting to see if Lasha will be one of those popped. Of course it will be his second time being popped if so, and therefore he'll be removed from the sport. There have been another few names floating around. Nijat Rahimov is one of them. Of course he won gold in 2016, which would move Lujajun back up to take his second Olympic gold medal should he be popped. And guys, that's where we're going to have to wrap up this week's episode of the Weightlifting House News Show. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will be back next week doing more of the same. I'll be back on YouTube again, hopefully, if this one gets a decent level of happy comments, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Head over to weightliftinghouse.com. You can get yourselves t-shirts, books, barbells, thumb tape. We got the whole thing. We got a whole load of really exciting things coming out too. And of course, guys, if you enjoy all of this stuff and you want to support the show and you want to get extra exclusive videos, podcasts, and training programs, head over to the Weightlifting House Patreon account, patreon.com/weightliftinghouse. And for the price of a mochaccino latte every month, you get all of that stuff. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch you all next week for another episode of the Weightlifting House podcast.